Oh, wow. Did you guys see that sick game today? Hold on, wait. Oh, he's not streaming it anymore. Is the score still 0-0? That's awesome.
It's not quite enough, but this guy, ping.
Presentation is everything.
Really?
Wait, that's not. Wait, it's not quite enough, but this guy, ping.
Presentation is everything.
Really?
Wait, that's not. Wait. Oh no. Oh no.
After any minion takes exactly 1 damage, destroy it. Okay.
Wait. Oh no.
Death Rattle deals 8 damage randomly split among all enemy minions. Okay.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Tread freely.
Oh
I suppose I should thank you.
I suppose so.
I noticed a lot of the accounts on Twitter crashing out about McMorrow dropping are foreign-based accounts. Do you think those are just bot accounts? It's impossible to say who's a bot or who's not a bot. Also, what do you mean by crashing out? Like they're happy she dropped or mad that she dropped or...
Well, hello, everybody. The Daily Wire.
Jesus.
The soy
Uh-oh.
pill is like unacceptable to me. Okay, because he's smart enough to know better. He's smart
Nice. Posted a sped up clip already. All right. Good job.
enough to know better. So his existence annoys me unlike any other fucking dumbass liberal on this platform because he's right here. And every now and then when he's right, he just cooks. Okay, he's correct here. But for some stupid fucking reason, he's so brain poisoned with the Hassan derangement syndrome that he literally will be like, I still hate you because you're pro-authoritarianism, you're illiberal, you're anti-liberalism, like you're blah, 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 all this shit. It's like, dude, just give it up, man. Just give it up. Just let it go. Gucci bag, friend. Gucci bag. Let it go. Just let it fucking go. Like, what are we doing? You're still fucking you're still carrying the liberalism torch in the big 226? Bro said he would support Epstein over you in a hypothetical raise. Wait, no, he did that too? I thought that was Hutch. Yeah, you guys are confusing him with another Destiny orbiter. The soy pill doesn't hate you like Hutch does. He and Pissock would have a normal combo with you. No, he's like tweeted.
I do like, there's a subtle thing that happened there, or maybe he was more honest in the beginning though, right? Not to take away from anything, but he's only responding to the soy pill because he perceives him as being someone that he can rip away from our community. I don't even endorse the soy pill's statements. Same thing with Hutch and a lot of the people near me that he attacks. That's why he's like telling, oh, no. You're thinking of another Destiny orbiter. This is the other Destiny orbiter that I'm attacking. Like, I like how clear he's communicating his thoughts here.
The soy pill doesn't hate you like Hutch does. He and Pissock would have a normal combo with you. No, he's like tweeted. He has tweeted like recently something in the replies. I just don't understand it. To me, it comes across as like insane. You know what I mean? I forget where it was, but he recently, like maybe a week ago or something. He's a huge deorbiter. Fuck those guys. Don't ever give him oxygen, please. Yeah, I think he's still very much.
Huge deorbiter. Not even close, but okay.
I can't tell if he's like a skeptic now. Some of these guys are not as insane, right? Like some of these, I think Hutch is as insane. Like
not as insane as in they are fighting with me, but some of them are insane as in they agree with me, right? The signaling is just so clear.
When you say you'd rather vote for Jeffrey Epstein instead of me for president, or if you think that I'm like worse than Donald Trump, you're an insane person. I don't think this guy's one of those people. Oh, here it is. This is what it was. These guys fucking hate me and call me a liberal and subscribe to actual liberals because I was making fun of Commie Turk. And he said, I'm a big tech guy. I just exclude social democrats. Fucking idiot. You're a big fucking idiot, Commie Turk. Anyway, maybe that's why everyone's calling me a secret commie because I hate you too. Do you ever explain why? Seriously, because I can't understand why someone with largely sensible content wouldn't hold less contempt for someone with also largely sensible content. He uses platform to spread voter.
Bruh, this is sped up to like, is this a 2x? It's not even 1.5. This is like a 2x naturally posted clip. Holy shit, bruh.
Apathy. And when faced with the most obvious trolley problem in the world, threw up his hands and said, no, I won't use my millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of fans to try and stop Trump from winning.
Did Swipe really do that Q&A in Doobie's Discord? Yeah, like a day or two after I think Connor had his huge crash out. People are just retarded. It's whatever. I don't care. Just separate and move on.
Give it up. Give it up. Brother, give up the fucking Kamala Dead Ender shit, please. Please. It's the dumbest analysis anyone can ever engage in.
Analysis.
Okay? Taylor
Analysis.
Swift couldn't get Kamala Harris to win. What the fuck are you talking about? If you still think I'm the one causing voter apathy, you're a fucking baboon. Okay? Beyonce couldn't overcome.
The classic YouTuber defense of I can't influence anything anyway. Ha 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 ha.
Couldn't generate enough excitement for Kamala Harris. Why the fuck do you think I'm capable of doing that? And better yet, how have you not comprehended that at the end of the day, what matters are the policies? You can't outflank the fucking policies, okay? It was Kamala Harris that created voter apathy. He has signaled this year that he would not promote Gavin Newsom over JD Vance 2020. I actually commend him for promoting these DSA candidates and putting his time and money where his mouth is, but it's ridiculous he wouldn't do the same to stop a fascist from winning. Oh my God. People like him are smart enough to know the true power they have, regardless of the party's shortcomings. This is what I mean. No, you know what this is? I think it's narcissism, okay? I think it's narcissism because he is a content creator, so in his mind, he thinks he has like this tremendous power, okay? It's gotta be that. I don't think that way. Okay, I guess you could say I'm narcissistic on other shit. I never said he changed the outcome. I said I hate that he has enormous resources and didn't use them. One vote doesn't matter. Why should anyone vote? Why advocate for good things if you won't change anyone else? You could easily say the same thing about him pushing for DSA policies that won't pass. He has signaled this year that he won't, that we would not promote Gavin Newsom. Oh my God. I think you got your power dead on, level of power dead on. Your laser focus on close Senate and congressional primaries is huge. Yeah, exactly. Soypill is just kind of a moron who could have been on the right side of this if he wasn't brain broken by whatever experiences ruined his ability to understand average/independent voters. He thinks he's so far left of the average voter, but that's only because he's convinced centrism is the norm because of the dumb fuck bubbles he operates in. Yeah, I think these guys have tunnel vision. I think these guys have like tunneled themselves into thinking that like Neera Tanden actually is dead on. You know what I mean? That mentality is fucking dead on. Where these guys sincerely sit around and circle jerk thinking the average voter, the median voter is actually always looking for moderate policies on healthcare and things like that. It's like you're a fucking idiot if you think that. I'm sorry. It's also remarkable how little they know. You also have tunnel vision regarding China. Fuck out of here. How old is Soypill? That's the last question I have. I'm willing to bet he must not be old enough to remember 2016 or wasn't like as active politically in 2016. Because that's what it is. These guys don't realize that they're reheating the same fucking DNC nachos from 2016 when they say dumb fucking bullshit like that. We're like, Hillary Rodham Clinton would have won if you supported her hard enough. Like that's what it is. Yeah, if this is your like second election cycle where you've been sentient, you saw 2020.
I mean, Hillary lost that election by like what, 30,000 votes? She had 3 million more on the popular vote. That's not inconceivable. Although I don't know how big Hassan was in 2016. We just been on Facebook, but like that was a pretty close election.
And then 2024, then you don't realize that you're literally doing the same thing. Neera Tanden and I have been duking it out since 2016. Okay, we've been there. We've motherfucking been there. We've been there, done that. These like second election cycle where you've been strictly in 2016, because that's what it is. These guys, how little they know. You also have tunnel vision regarding China. Fuck out of here. How old is Soypill? That's the last question I have. I'm willing to bet he must not be old enough to remember 2016 or wasn't like as active politically in 2016. Because that's what it is. These guys don't realize that they're reheating the same fucking DNC nachos from 2016 when they say dumb fucking bullshit like that. We're like, Hillary Rodham Clinton would have won if you supported her hard enough. Like that's what it is. Yeah, if this is your like second election cycle where you've been sentient, you saw 2020 and then 2024, then you don't realize that you're literally doing the same thing. Neera Tanden and I have been duking it out since 2016. Okay, we've been there. We've motherfucking been there. We've been there, done that. These are things that the things I'm hearing about Abdullah Sayed, about Grant Platter, about all these candidates, about us in this movement, the DSA. These aren't new. What is this? Please look at the picture. He's in the propeller hat.
Why does Hassan like the number one snarker? Because this is all politics is everywhere. This is American politics. The number one snarker in the United States is Donald Trump. This is everything now. This is what we do.
Oh my God. So they were pro-Shoycott? I don't get it. PV has intentionally made a push to try to write out the coattails of more organized popular orgs like people like you and DSA, but they couldn't help their lived up nature by trying to sink Dari and Claire's campaigns. But since they've never had actual emotion, it didn't do shit. Yeah, that was very disappointing. In the fucking last week when they were like, you need to fucking make your position on Russia, Ukraine be clear. When like these demonic DNC entities were looking at any avenue of attack. PV doesn't suck. They clarified it on.
How hard is that of an ask? Is Hassan closely aligned with your snarkers or just benefiting from their derangement? No, he is aligned. 100%. It's all unintentional, up and down.
Reddit, your chat is just packed with reactionaries. Dude, I don't know about my chat. That was my assessment. I'm telling you what my position is. Like, I think they've done good work overall. They've promoted a lot of Justice Democrat candidates, a lot of DSA candidates. But I've always said this: disagreements that are marginal cannot turn into impediments. Okay, if you are going to present yourself as an impediment to a candidate like Claire or Dari Lisa winning in any way, shape, or form, even if it doesn't work, I'm still going to pull out of that immediately. This is what it was. Yeah, I remember this. This was like, anyway, it's fine. I hope they don't do something like this again, but it was like totally ridiculous. Especially when the alternative, an Apex dude, what are you, fucking nuts? You were like, oh, her position on Ukraine is ambiguous. I don't understand why it's bad for PV to have a position on Ukraine. It's not bad for PV to have whatever position they have on Ukraine. It's horrible for a group that has already endorsed a candidate to turn around 1 week out from a fucking major election to be like, we're rescinding our support. Okay? If you can understand why that would be rat fuck behavior for numerous other people and numerous other organizations, you can understand how that could be seen as rat fucking for Daria Lisa and Claire Valdez's races. Okay? And not only that, but also their perspective on it was that
it's so crazy to say that it's rat fucking to ask somebody to have a clear stance on the most obvious conflict of our time. Like, how is that? Meanwhile, they were willing to pull everything from supporting Kamala because she wouldn't take a hard stance on what is arguably one of the most like murky like conflicts in the past 75 years. Like, give me a fucking break. It's just so obviously a joke.
Claire and Dari's opinion on Ukraine was too vague for their liking. Like, it wasn't even, they didn't even land on anything. That was just because they had in the past tweeted about the need for diplomacy. Remember the fucking, wasn't it the Congressional Progressive Caucus that also wanted to force Biden to push for diplomacy at some point with Ukraine, and then they clamped that down, or was it a ceasefire? Like, that's crazy. PV is also floating the idea of requiring a pro-Taiwan position. Oh my God, dude. Ugh, this is what I mean. It's like, it's unbelievable. Like, that's an unbelievable demand to make. What do you mean pro-Taiwan?
Unbelievable.
Up next, Taiwan tracker. Anyway, yeah. Like, because no candidate is ever going to take them seriously if they're like, we are demanding a defend Taiwan position. Like, if that's something that they're...
Yeah, that's very unserious. But like a delete Israel position, that's like super... That is a serious position. Okay.
Track Taipei, track Taiwan. You give up on Taiwan just like you give up on Ukraine. Sad. I haven't given up on Ukraine. What are you talking about? Also, I need you to understand something, okay? The entire Western world, including the United States of America, is fully in support of Ukraine. Making that into a litmus test because you don't think that a candidate's position
Okay. Yeah, we support Ukraine so hard.
is not sufficiently pro-Ukraine is insane. Can you not comprehend why that would be different than Israel, considering that 90% of Congress is pro-Israel unconditionally, whereas 90% of Democratic voters are against Israel? Do you not understand that one is an adequate litmus test? The other one is just like, how fucking pro-America can you get? Do you not get that? The Taiwan one is even more insane than that. The Taiwan one is even more insane than that. Because now you're like demanding a further right, more militant position than like what most American politicians are even comfortable with. I'm gonna shy away from cooking up Mallory McMorrow hater memes for the day because while she has not endorsed Abdullah Sayed, I don't want her to endorse Haley Stevens either. So I'm gonna keep my shit talking to a minimum, despite the fact that this person quite literally lost her race and had to drop out of the fucking race straight up because she came after the king and best not miss. Okay, I'm gonna...
God, this is why I hate my fucking audience. You guys are so cucked. Destiny, don't you think it's like a little bit too much to like say that like you'll harass somebody who's not taking the right position? Meanwhile, Hassan, so we're not gonna bully the fuck out of this white fucking cunt, this Zayo fuck today, because I want her to endorse my candidate, but she better be on the fucking right side of that shit. But today, we'll let it slide. Today, we won't say shit. Meanwhile, my audience, Destiny, is it really okay to tweet at a journalist who's not asking hard enough questions on the sun? Aren't you going to be alienating allies? Just kidding.
Please meet up at McDonald's. No
Clip services of Casey from driving yesterday while disagreeing with her chat on her state of sobriety. Uh-oh.
loads refused. Only loads
I'm just kidding. Most of you guys were on my side for that. Just a few of you trigger the fuck out of me.
allowed. Hope. Honey, if McDonald's is the ultimate destination for your late night rendezvous, then you need to step up your game. Those fries ain't gonna dip themselves. But I'll say this, if you're going unprotected, at least get a Big Mac to go with that questionable decision.
You guys are tripping. Like, if that were the case, then restaurants wouldn't be allowed to serve alcohol at all.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Please meet up at McDonald's. No loads refused. Only loads allowed. Hope. Honey, if McDonald's is the ultimate destination for your late night rendezvous, then you need to step up your game. Those fries ain't gonna dip themselves. But I'll say this, if you're going unprotected, at least get a Big Mac to go with that questionable decision.
You guys are tripping. Like, if that were the case, then
She's saying she had like 2 drinks. Okay.
restaurants wouldn't be allowed to serve alcohol at all. No, sobriety test me, Mitch. Sobriety test me, breathalyze me, Mitch. I need to get one of those. I need to get one of those blow things. You know, like the ones that you can get on your keychain. I would blow, and I would blow under the limit. Like, you guys are tripping. I'm trying to get to McDonald's, okay? I don't really give a fuck. Like, I don't really give a fuck. I'm trying to get to McDonald's. Okay?
What do we think? Do we think she's drunk or what?
Shut up. Hi/drunk slot. I'm literally not drunk. You are tripping.
Hamburglar donated $2 with the message, hey Casey, can we try the new fried pies? Can we get a
She got banned. We don't know why. And she didn't tweet out why? What's the equivalent of a legal limit of alcohol in blood in drinks? No Googling. What's the equivalent of a legal limit of alcohol? I don't know, but isn't the DUI thing like 0.08% or whatever? I don't know what you're asking though. How many drinks can you have before 0.08? I don't know. I imagine it's probably closely related to how much you weigh. How bad would it fuck your chances of an unban if you just made another account on the site and started streaming? I mean, I imagine they would ban me almost instantly, and it definitely wouldn't help me at all. And then they could maybe point to that in the future as an excuse for like, oh, he tried to ban evade or something. I don't know. There'd just be no point to it. If there was like some point to it, I would do it for the memes, but I would ban for like 20 minutes. Or I would probably stream for like 10, 20 minutes and I get insta-ban, so. Why do you tweet offline and not on stream? Is it just because you don't like the seal concerning from your chat? Oh no, because usually I'm just staring at my computer and typing. And you're just watching me stare at my computer typing. Destiny. Why? I don't care.
Why?
Stop. We're not doing 20 minutes of Basan today, okay?
I hate it personally. I hate being smeared as an anti-Semite. It annoys me. It's untrue, and it makes no sense. I'm someone who has combated anti-Semitism my whole life, and I will continue to do so. However, what they don't realize is this kind of commentary coming from local newspapers and mainstream media outlets unironically boosts my legitimacy, because the average American literally hears that and thinks, oh, here we go again. They're calling.
Okay. Oh, did you see this? The White House puts pressure on FIFA to review the decision and make a direct call to ask their president, Gianni Infantino, to review the red card. I don't even know who was playing here, but apparently Donald Trump can revoke red cards now. Based? Just for memes, can you post Hassa into your Reddit search bar? Get noted, Destiny. Well, fuck you. Somebody said earlier that this means that there's like bots that are spamming to look for Hassan shit. Is that true? Russian streamer waves a hand at the police, instantly gets beaten. What? What was he doing? Oh, he got banned. Okay.
Тебе не может быть 20 Можете выразить? Это неправильно. Вырежем. А куда? Ты мне только что сказал, что меня заберут, куда он поехал. Давайте я вам помахаю. Махай, наоборот.
А, так там можно через окошко залезть. Вот.
Okay. He was told that the cops had previously picked up some junkie off the street who was staring at the sky. The guy immediately started imitating him, and the cop apparently saw the imitation and got triggered. Okay. (2026) software development in a nutshell.
Blah 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 blah. Good. Go. What is this shit that someone linked me?
Okay, based. Listen, I'm not here to say to defend Argentina. I'm sure they've got racist shit going on down there. But I will say, I saw a little bit of this discourse. Bro, I hate Americans. I'm sorry. I hate more and more every day. I hate all of the young Americans. All these young Americans like, yeah, Argentinians are really racist, but like Egyptians are super chill. And like, yeah, you know, like for some reason, like in Argentina, they're really mean, but like in Egypt, like everybody's like so much cooler and chiller. Every single time I've heard a friend talk about like, oh yeah, we want to go to vacation in Egypt. But all of my friends there say that like to make sure that you don't go any place weird or like go too far like out of Cairo because men will probably abduct you and rape you until you die. And it's like, but I've seen this so many Reddit comments like, yeah, Egyptians are super chill and everything, but like in Argentina, they're just so evil and mean and racist. It's like, okay, buddy. All right, chief. Okay.
Single black woman name. I want a name. Okay, I need a name of a single black woman that had something to do with America's founding. Go. I mean, I can think of like, didn't Thomas Jefferson have like half his family like with out of wedlock with the slaves? I think isn't that
That's an expression. Okay.
Historic. Anyway, that's like as close as I can get.
Damn, look at all those X tabs. That's a heavy research day for Benny. Elena enjoys GTA 4 TV.
A park in the middle of Liberty City that would become the great democratic meeting ground where, no matter how rich or how poor, you could get dragged into the bushes and raped.
Jesus, okay. Wait, which GTA was San Andreas? Why do I feel like I've never heard of GTA 4? I feel like I heard of GTA 3, and then there was Vice City, and then there was San Andreas. Was that 4? GTA 4 was the shit. GTA 4 was ass. 4 is Nico Bellic. 4 was the Russian one. 4 is New York. Damn. Maybe that was just in between my gaming eras and I just missed it. I played Vice City and I played San Andreas. Oh my god. GTA 4 came out in 2008? Was San Andreas after that? Okay. 2004? Are we sure? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm good on that one, Chief. Jesus. Holy shit. What? Bruh. Man, they got, that guy's really...
Holy fuck, dude!
That guy's really bulging out there, huh?
It's dangling. It's... That's disgusting.
Before they fixed it, his cock went through the chair. I mean, yeah, that happens when you get a big dick. You guys have never had that issue before, where your cock phases through chairs in reality? It's really annoying. I call fake. Looks more like Antifa in costume. No one should be allowed to cover their faces. Okay. Our Queen McMorrow has dropped out. Hassan fighting with Kafka in his Twitter DM or mentions. Jesus Christ. Watching this made me understand Destiny's plight of clearly. Did he mean so clearly? I tried to read this post, and it was probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was like 3 sentences in, and I was like, there's no way. This is... Sorry. Watching Destiny's nuking Ezra Klein vid, and at this point, Mooten asks for clarification on his anti-wealth tax position. Destiny gives his response, which is essentially, what if you get taxed and you don't have any cash to pay for it? There might be way more to this argument than he's expressed in this, which is why I'm posting here to harvest the collective knowledge of the fan base, but aren't the counters to his position obvious? First of all, not having free cash to pay for your taxes is always an issue, regardless of what type of tax is being levied against you. So, no, that's not true. Sales tax you typically pay when you buy a thing immediately, and your income tax is usually withheld from you when you're making money. So this is automatically just not true, but okay. If you don't have the cash to pay the IRS, yes, you have to liquidate assets or sell stock or sell products to get the cash to pay the government. What? How many people do you know that have to do this? You're on some advanced tax strategy bullshit if this is what you're doing, all right? Sure, sales tax, make sure you had the cash. This isn't even the dumbest thing. There's a thing, I'll get to it. Hold on. I think it's in the next. Sure, sales tax make sure you had the cash at one point because they're a percentage of the cash you receive. But if you just turn around and put all that money back into your company, you're in the exact same situation as someone who's just had a wealth tax levied at them. I don't even know what this means. I don't see like a moral or logical reason why these two situations are actually different. This was it. Secondly, hold on. Secondly, you can just borrow money against your assets instead of selling them to pay the tax. Highest wealth tax proposal I've seen so far is like 5%. The example Destiny used was $10 million in the clip. If you own a business worth $10 million and you can't get $500,000 in free cash for a once-a-year tax, maybe you shouldn't be in charge of a $10 million company. This is where I stop reading. If you own a business where the net of all of the business, not what even they earn in a year, but the assets and everything is all $10 million. Who knows what the revenues are, let alone the profits are. And the idea that you should just cough up $500,000, $500,000 in cash once a year, not even as like an investment into your business or anything else, but that should just be like a nothing burger. Like, oh yeah, here you go, easy. Like, what the fuck? Thirdly, companies with no free cash just don't exist. You need free cash at several points of your business to grow it. This is what loans are for, or investment, not just free cash, but okay. Hire employees, etc. Successful businesses spend money. To spend money, you need free cash. What? They just tend to take out loans or sell stock to access it if they aren't actively generating revenue. This is just like, I don't even know. Maybe, I saw one guy made a big post, but I would never be able to. Bro, that was too much for me. I've seen Destiny make this complaint a couple times now that, and I'm paraphrasing, socialists will take credit for everything good liberals have done, and I can't help but note just how incomplete that statement is. While it is true that progressives and liberals enshrined a lot of protections into law, a lot of the ground organizing for these protections were done by socialists and anarchists. Some examples. Labor Day is dedicated to the socialist/anarchist Haymarket martyrs who were striking for an 8-hour workday. AFL-CIO still celebrates Joe Hill, who was a socialist, and it was the socialist Upton Sinclair's journalism that really generated the push for the FDA. I bring this up because these figures and movements align closer to progressivism than to Marxist-Leninism, and ceding their history to the likes of Hassan is nothing short of a crime. The way in which progressives in the early 20th century were able to absorb populist demands into their platform is a testament to virtues of pluralism, and something that deserves to be studied. It appears to be a skill modern-day Democrats just seem to lack. Okay, I would have to look up these particular figures more, but I would be surprised if it was that simple. Thank your subscriber, please. Who subscribed? Who did I miss? Pyrotechnus, 4 minutes ago. Oh, Dalio, tier 3 sub. Dalio, you gotta chill, bro. Need to take a deep breath. Deep breath. Okay. We question Mr. Secretary because we know that it did not happen. You know there are cameras on the pool 24 hours, right? You do not have photographs of anyone submerging in the reflecting pool to cut a gash longer than a football field, but we do have videos and photos of the liner peeling from the floor of the pool. This is... Are we really saying that, like, ish equals shit? Oh, gotcha. We really believe that... Like, does the average conservative really believe that somebody stepped into the pool with a machete, dragged it... Is it over 100 yards across the pool to make a clean cut? Like, do people really believe this? This dog does not give a fuck. Did you go over that Hassan fan that you were fighting with on Twitter? The one that said you dodged him? Nope. We Need Your Take on Obsession? I already watched it. It's a good movie.
Half miles of expansion.
But it peeled off. Why? Why did that happen? Do you
It
know?
didn't. It didn't peel off. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There have been 7 arrests. There was people literally trying to destroy part of a monument. The reflecting pool is not just a pool on the mall. It is part of the Lincoln Memorial. And if anybody says that they're going to go and vandalize that, it's no different than if someone was throwing.
And
paint
you're
on Lincoln
100%
itself.
sure that what happened with the liner was vandalism. You can prove it.
Oh yeah, absolutely can. And as we drain it, and we've got all the photographs we can see. I mean, there's no possible way.
You have photographs of a person or people cutting a 300 or 350 foot gash in the bottom of the reflecting pool?
Dana, I'm not sure why you and others in the media think that you want to keep trying to question whether or not this is an industrial liner. Every farmer and rancher in America that's had their pickup liner lined by this sprayed on liner knows that you literally it would never just like peel off or fall off. This is like a strong material.
Yeah.
And it's the size of 8 football fields. And the only way you can end up with actual slices in one spot and not the other is that someone physically cut it. And so but the pool itself, it's not leaking. It was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. It's finally been fixed by President Trump. And the American flag blue is working perfectly. And again, it's beyond me why. I mean, the real scandal is about the fact that the state of our capital was in such total disrepair that some people, no one was reporting about. No one was reporting about the pro-Hamas graffiti on the.
Mr. Secretary, you and I talked about this last month.
Yeah,
I
and
think
we're still talking about it.
Well, because it was July 4th and the reflecting pool was closed.
It was closed because it's surrounded by fireworks. It's closed every year on the 4th of July.
But it was closed prior to that in order to fix the reflecting pool.
Lie.
The largest fireworks display in the country we're talking about was set up, and it lines either side of the reflecting pool. You can't have people around fireworks when they're being set up. Now that the fireworks will come down, the fence will come down. The fence was there because of the fireworks.
Copy that.
Copy that. Wait, what is that from? What am I thinking of? What meme is that? The long neck guy, the giraffe guy, the GameStop kid. Copy that. If I search for that, will it just come up? Copy that. Oh, no. Oh. Wait, new ad. Vine sauce.
Whoa, hey guys. Welcome to EB Games.
Call of Duty. Advanced Warfare. Xbox One.
Copy that. Copy that. Copy that. Copy that.
Okay.
Was this part of the pool specifically, did some of was the sealant already partially removed? Did he rip it back and you just describe in detail? Because he maintains that it looks the same as it did before he arrived. That's his.
You know, I'm not going to get into the evidence, but what I told you is what our witnesses saw and experienced. There was an effort, a violent effort to rip up the sealant from the bottom of the pool. And irrespective of whether or not, you know, we
now it's
think
violent.
that, you know, there is...
This is a terrorist attack, basically, at this point.
Some situation that preceded it, we can state and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he caused damage, and that damage is over $1,000.
Keying in on that, how do you prove that $1,000?
With an expert.
Is that because
come to the trial.
It has to be drained? Like, just, is that because it has to be
You
drained?
can. We'll hear all that at the trial.
Did he have any tools, or was it just his bare hands?
Right now, we believe it's his bare hands, both hands.
So does that indicate in your belief that...
Wait. Is this just for, like, after the repairs and everything got fucked up? Or is this, like, for the very first time it started to come up? Is that what we're doing?
It was probably damaged before, or do you believe that he...
Oh, he damaged it.
Further, but do you believe it had already been damaged before?
He damaged the pool.
Before he touched it?
He damaged this pool.
But there have been, you know, all these videos, obviously.
Well, good. I'm glad you've got that evidence. Come on in the grand jury. You can testify. Next.
Thank you for your time.
Jesus Christ. Holy fuck, got this picture of the dude messing up the reflecting pool.
Interesting. Makers like David. Interesting. What the fuck? Okay. Hey, Shannon, remember when you retweeted this insane cult leader apparently currently in court for revenge porn case, openly saying he'll he has so many talking points that it becomes like this fucking
run-on sentence meme.
It's like a Game of Thrones title. He'll openly
Hello, this is Steven, sex pest any of his name, the Epstein cult of the DGG harassment squad, the holder of child porn seeking whatever.
Harass any journalist that interviews me with his community. Perhaps your hatred of me is unfounded and is leading you down a dark path. Hey, bro, maybe I'll screenshot this and show it one day. Hassan DM'd me once, many years ago, because aristocracy was attacking him over the October 7th shit. And he DM'd me, because he'd been talking to me a little bit. He DM'd me asking about her. He's like, dude, what the fuck is she on? Is this like, I don't think this is good for her mental health. I'm like, why the fuck are you asking me? And it was so weird. Like, again, it just felt like he was trying to, because he knew that I knew her, and I guess like maybe he just felt like he was getting me to. He felt like I would do something. Like, it was so fucking weird. But no, I was just like, no, she's cool. She's clever and knows the conflict well. Like, unlike some people. Oh my god. Does he have a nickname for you yet? Well, he calls me Boner Box, but people who like me call me that as well. So I don't know. It's not really landing.
This chick is getting attacked by pro-pals for being too Zio and by Israel Sims for not being Zio enough. Okay. I don't even know who this person is.
Disease that affect.
Do I care about that?
Back is a real disease that affects mostly white women who are privileged to have health care to get the diagnosis, right? People of color tend to be less aware or not diagnosed with these things as much because they lack healthcare. But of course, rich white women came after me, as you know. They're at the helm of both the pit bull and the celiac community. So that made sense for me. But of all the things that I've ever said...
Wait, rich white women are at the head of the pit bull community?
Yeah, they like to rescue dogs.
She's a comedian.
Which is great. I'm just joking. I shouldn't get in trouble. I will get in trouble for this, but it's kind of like how I feel about anti-Semitism. Like, anti-Semitism is bad. I don't want anti-Semitism. I get that. But is it the worst thing? No. To me right now, it's not, especially living in a country where there's massive anti-Mexican sentiment and Mexican people are currently being rounded up, are made to fear that they're going to be rounded up. So sorry if I'm not screaming as much about anti-Semitism as you want me to. Right now, I have bigger focuses on some of my neighbors that are going through horrendous anti-Mexican sentiment. So yes, it's bad, but I'm not such a person that thinks, oh, I'm going to live a life free of any problems. You asked me about being offended with my comedy and all this stuff. I don't think being offended is the worst thing. I think being poor is. Some people expect to go through a life of not being offended, I guess. Not me. I was born offended. My whole circumstance was offensive. Yeah.
True. Kind of, yeah. Insane Hopium poll just dropped. Why are you linking a Google Drive of the poll? Zenith Research. Okay. Honest question, why is anti-Semitism such a big deal in the U.S.? I understand racism because of black history in America, but why anti-Semitism? Probably, I mean, like, the Holocaust thing is a big deal that we talk about, obviously. Probably because anti-Semitism usually just comes baggaged sometimes with a lot more weird shit. There are other things, reasons why, that are uncomfortable to talk about on like, both sides, too, so it's harder to... Like, I mean, I'm sure to some extent the fact that there are so many influential Jewish people mean that they have, like, a louder voice in our culture, in our politics, which some people might take all the way to the Zog argument. I think another thing, too, is that it's hard to be, this sounds bad, but, like, it's hard to be, like, if you're going to be anti-Semitic or hate Jews, you kind of have to always be conspiratorial. But, like, some people might consider you racist for saying, like, oh, I think black people commit more crime or whatever, and blah, 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 and now you're called racist. But there's, like, obviously it's a bit of a different situation, so I don't know. The anti-Semitic stuff usually, though, goes hand in hand with a whole bunch of really, really, really weird, crazy conspiracy shit that racism doesn't generally pair with, but, I mean, it could. What do you think Ezra's goal is with those buddy-buddy combos? I don't know. Maybe I'll ask him at LibCon. We'll see.
Expecting that's
why? Never mind. Okay, not even opening that video. What is this? Oh, The MAGA Freedom 250 celebration folks had to take shelter from a severe storm in the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Good meme. Okay. We're watching this while I kill this boss. Good luck.
Remember how, in our recent video, solving the Dyatlov incident mystery, we said it was our most ambitious video yet? Well, we may have already outdone ourselves, because this time, we're tackling one of the biggest current mysteries of our time, Epstein's supposed death. And there's one incident tied to it that few have talked about, an incident that may have put everything in motion. It all started with just a few words and an image. On Saturday, August 10th, 2019.
Am I really going to care about this? You know what? Never mind. If it gets recommended anymore or something, maybe. Why do I watch this one? Never mind. Okay. Sorry.
Well, hello, everybody. The Daily Wire, you might have noticed, is instituting significant layoffs. There was a time when Ben Shapiro could reasonably call himself the king of all conservative media. That's all over now.
I can't help but notice that the online world has become increasingly intertwined with mainstream politics lately.
You will be, in the not-too-distant future, running for political office. And you have my complete and total endorsement.
Influencers who once had nothing to do with such polarizing issues have since flung themselves headfirst into the most contentious political matters of the day. Whether driven by clout or by ideological purposes, the fact is, more and more influencers are beginning to play a larger role in the events that shape our history.
I want to thank the Nelk Boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn.
If you had told me 5 years ago that Kyle and Steiny of the Nelk Boys would have had a hand in whitewashing a genocide by granting a war criminal a softball interview on their Happy Dad sponsored podcast, I probably would have had some kind of severe medical episode. I mean, even now it's hard to comprehend that being a real thing that happened.
Burger King. I like Burger King more.
What's your go-to at McDonald's?
No, I'll tell you Burger King. We did the double,
Whopper?
The double.
I haven't ripped Burger King in a long time. Burger King kind of sucks.
Yeah.
No,
the
you're wrong.
BK Lounge can hit.
I disagree completely.
You like Burger King over McDonald's?
That's your worst take, I think.
Absolutely.
That's a crazy take.
Damn, such a hard-hitting journalism from the same guys who brought you Nelk picking up hot girls in Miami and taking a virgin to the club. Because as refreshing as it might sound to have more people engage directly with the governments and policies that shape our existence, I can't help but think we're sort of being led down the road to hell by some of the least qualified grifters to walk the planet.
You openly admitted you never do research or read articles outside of Twitter. How can you shamelessly tell others to read more? I don't need to understand whatever article you want me to read. I don't need to read your little special book or your Wikipedia article or anything else besides that. None of that stuff matters.
Yeah, somehow one of the largest political commentators on Twitch, by the way. That's not discouraging or terrifying at all, is it?
Wash hands? Why don't you shut the fuck up? I washed my hands 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I'm fine. What are you talking about wash my hands for?
The idea that an official Twitter account of the US military would be using words like low cortisol and lethality maxing just weeks before launching a regional war in the Middle East is a bone-chilling reality, but it's the one we're living in. Awesome. The political landscape is shifting underneath us as we speak, which can come with serious consequences, especially as online punditry moves further into the extreme.
Women are made to be literally. That is what it is. Women are either mothers, whores, or nuns. No other options.
Last time I was in Korea, I was tired of them pretending they were not Chinese. You're all slanty-eyed. You're all Chinese. Japan, Korea.
Pass.
all the time.
We've talked a lot on this channel about these guys. The loose ensemble of kick streamers and other online provocateurs ushering in a new era of reactionary politics, united not by a single outward ideology, but by a shared desire to build and maintain a personal brand. In their quest to create viral moments that keep themselves at the top of everyone's feeds, they've increasingly resorted to saying and doing more unhinged things. These guys are mostly funded by their audiences, meaning they're far less dependent on advertisers than traditional mainstream personalities, and have little to no incentive to temper their rhetoric.
I'm Candace Owens' biological mom, and she is my biological son. And we're gonna get married.
Moreover, the billionaires who keep the lights on at Kick and Rumble are hardly interested in reining in the wild rhetoric so long as it continues to generate traffic. After all, much of their appeal stems from a perceived willingness to speak their minds, a supposedly moral commitment to tell it like it is, which of course only opens the door for more controversial moments, more clicks, more attention, and more money. Rinse and repeat. This less organized, less restrained, and in some cases, less explicitly political band of influencers with their fingers on the pulse of online culture and a younger, more energetic fan base at their disposal has set fire to the old guard of mainstream conservatism. And perhaps no organization better embodies that old guard than the Daily Wire and its most recognizable figure, Ben Shapiro. Since about 2016, Ben Shapiro has been a dominant force in the conservative ecosystem, traveling around the country, owning every woke, blue-haired college liberal that dare challenge his intellect, or bintellect. Does that work? I don't know. In 2017, the New York Times bestowed upon Ben Shapiro the title of Provocative Gladiator, a conservative wonder kid with grinding mechanical intelligence, as put by The Week in 2018. God, what were people on, man? Ben quickly rose to prominence as a right-wing firebrand during Trump 1.0, before gliding off the right-wing outrage machine most potent during the Biden administration, expanding his reach and making money hand over fist, even as recently as 2023, when the Daily Wire finished out that year with a profit of more than $200 million in top-line revenue. For all intents and purposes, Ben Shapiro's media empire was poised for unprecedented growth. But today, those prospects look a little different. One glance at Ben Shapiro's 7 million subscriber YouTube channel will tell you that Ben has seen some better days. Some much better days. The Washington Post just reported in May that Ben's views have plunged nearly 70% since the end of 2024, triggering a wave of mass layoffs amidst the inner turmoil. A Daily Wire spokesperson, Brad Bishop, told the Post they had to cut 13% of their employees since the beginning of this year alone, which comes after a previous round of layoffs the company was forced to enact last year, shortly after their co-founder, Jeremy Boring, stepped down as CEO. Now they've even lost the guy who replaced him, meaning the future of the company is now less certain than ever. This also comes as Ben's former friends and allies are running circles around him. He now finds himself outpaced by the likes of Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and even his former acolyte Candace Owens, who continues to siphon views.
Tucker still just does his podcast, right? He doesn't do he doesn't have a daily show or anything, right? Same thing with Candace. Is everything daily or?
News from her one-time employer, making for a particularly personal thorn in the Daily Wire's side. The online conservative ecosystem is changing rapidly, and if Ben can't turn things around soon, he may just become a has-been. You get it? Cause Ben, you get it? I mean, some of these videos have less than 20k views. The man is having to play Fortnite and react to TikToks, for God's sake. He is paying to run full broadcasts of his show as pre-roll advertisements on other videos, hoping that the viewer just falls asleep and watches the whole thing on accident, I guess? Not sure that's a winning business strategy long term, but you do you, Ben. I've contemplated a video on Ben Shapiro for years at this point. It's not like he hasn't given me a potentially endless trove of content to latch onto and attack, but as Cody Johnston said a few months ago in his video, we're at a point now where this might be the last time Ben Shapiro is even relevant enough to talk about. His predicament is a very real one, and I think it's worth examining how he went from such a rising star to a complete dud in a little under a decade. I think it speaks to the wider conservative movement that in the world of Republican politics, so-called principles aren't gonna get you as far as simply reading the room. Looking through this lens, Ben Shapiro's demise seems all but inevitable, and I hope this video can serve as a cathartic look back on one of the most putrid careers of one of the most repulsive men on the internet. Join me for the unprecedented rise and satisfying fall of Ben Shapiro. But first, I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, NoCD. NoCD is one of my absolute favorite companies to work with because it gives me a chance to talk about something that for too many years I felt I couldn't talk about at all, honestly. And that's been my experience with OCD. I've had it for about as long as I can remember. Even back when I didn't know what it was, I had already become painfully aware of the symptoms and had grown accustomed to feeling trapped by my compulsive behavior and the obsessions that spurred them. It can be hard to describe OCD to someone who's never had to deal with it, but I remember being in 6th grade feeling like I had to obsessively wash my hands over and over again until my anxious feelings went away. I would force myself to think of quote-unquote good thoughts whenever I took a test, or else I had convinced myself that I would fail. I would have to touch every light switch of every room I entered, or else I felt like I would lose someone I cared about. Obviously, there was never any real connection between my anxiety and these rituals. Doing them wasn't going to change the outcome of something, and I knew that, but there was still this part of me that said I had to carry them out in order to feel okay. And sure, giving into them would help for a little bit, until there was another one I had to do, then another one, then another one. It was just a constant in my life for way too long. All these extremely rigid rituals began to consume me. It felt like I was being truly controlled and trapped by my compulsions until I found NoCD. NoCD is the world's leading treatment provider for OCD. All of their licensed therapists specialize in ERP therapy, or exposure and response prevention therapy, which is proven to be the most effective treatment for OCD. NoCD therapists go through extensive training led by leading experts in OCD, so they know exactly what to look for and how to help. The lessons and tools my NoCD therapist taught me always ring loud in my ear every time I'm about to give in to a compulsion. They made me feel heard, and I can't tell you how much of a relief it was to actually speak with a trained professional whose job it is to listen to my experiences. It will always benefit you to reach out and get help, and I can tell you personally that NoCD is here for you. Their therapy is 100% virtual and covered by insurance for over 138 million Americans. It also includes support between sessions, so you never have to face OCD alone. To learn more about starting OCD therapy with NoCD, go to nocd.com and book a free call with their team today. That's nocd.com. Huge thanks to NoCD for sponsoring, and now back to Ben. Benjamin Aaron Shapiro was brought into the world at the height of the Reagan era on January 15th, 1984. Growing up with 3 sisters and raised by deep red Reagan Republicans in the predominantly liberal city of Burbank, California, Ben's parents both enjoyed careers in the field of entertainment, his mother being a top executive at a television company, with his father David working as a composer, meaning that even from a young age, Ben had a healthy exposure to the arts. He was described as a child prodigy by Spectator in 2018, skilled in both violin and piano, which you can judge for yourself by watching his appearance at the Israeli Bonds Banquet in 1996.
Benjamin Shapiro is 12 years old. He will play for us the theme from Schindler's List. Ladies and gentlemen, Benjamin Shapiro.
Sorry. Okay. Why not?
It's almost kind of sweet to see a young Ben Shapiro so passionate about something that doesn't completely suck and make people's lives worse. You know, if you ignore the glaring fact that this performance was done to benefit a fascist ethno-state, of course. But if we know anything about Ben Shapiro, it's that his love of artistic expression has never once faded, as he's continued to sharpen and refine his musical chops over the years. Kind of makes me
Good
wish
one.
he had just steered clear of politics altogether and gone the route of a musician. A classical musician, okay? Not whatever the fuck this is.
Let's look at the stats.
But if a streak of creativity ran through Ben, so did a sense of unwavering patriotism. So much so that he had dressed up as John Adams every year for Halloween since the age of 5. Political discussions around the dinner table were far from uncommon in the Shapiro household, as David made sure that Ben, along with his sisters, were sufficiently engaged with the pressing matters of the day. But that doesn't mean Ben Shapiro always wanted to pursue a career in politics. Anyone who's seen his questionable takes on the Barbie movie or One Battle After Another knows that aside from music, Ben has long displayed a passion for film and television.
I like his mug. Did you see his mug? His mug is funny. Did you see the mug he's carrying there? It says, "Oh, for fox's sake." That is what the mug says.
Which makes sense. Not only do his parents come from Hollywood, but Ben's cousin is actress Mara Wilson, who, as a child, starred in such films as Matilda, Mrs. Doubtfire, Miracle on 34th Street, and perhaps the film that most resonated with me as a child, Thomas and the Magic Railroad. It's peak, honestly. Of course, it's worth noting that Ben and Mara aren't exactly on speaking terms these days, what with her political convictions being the polar opposite of his. But if you look closely at Ben Shapiro's career, you may just find a thinly veiled desire to follow in the footsteps of so many of his family members. Take, for example, this particularly cringeworthy interview he gave in 2011. While promoting his 4th book, Primetime Propaganda, the true Hollywood story of how the left took over your TV. Wow, very subtle title there, Ben. I wonder what the book could be about. Connie Martinson brings up a time in Ben's life where he had been asked to write a TV series that Ben describes as a mix of comedy and drama.
Was that a comedy? Was it sitcom? Was it drama?
It was more of a dramedy. It was
Yeah.
based on Harvard Law School. It was a dramedy. I've written a couple comedies, kind of hour-long dramedies for, spec script.
And have they been bought?
No. Because no, and there are a couple reasons for that.
Okay. So what do you think was the reason, Ben?
One is that it's hard to sell anything in this town.
Yeah, thank you.
Period. Regardless of political viewpoint. And the other is that, and especially a breakout series right from the get-go, right? I mean, it's hard to sell a spec script. You start as a baby writer. I mean, you know the process.
Yeah.
And the one thing above all that Hollywood does right now that is utterly despicable is that they keep people who are not of their political ilk out of the business. Period. End of story.
Ben may not have expected this to be a confrontational interview, but Connie certainly doesn't back down in asserting what we're probably all thinking, that Ben Shapiro and other conservatives aren't kept out of the writer's room for being conservative, they're kept out for being unfunny. She even cites her husband, a conservative who found success in Hollywood, as a prime example of this.
I find that a little hard to believe because...
Look at the tape.
Well, I'd like to see the tape, only because my husband, who's a conservative, was a very famous director at a certain point.
Got him.
And I just try to think, being Democrat or Republican or whatever, very rarely came into the conversation.
Well, I mean...
Although I will say we were cleared by the FBI.
They then take a bit of a detour into a wider debate about conservatives advocating against abortion, but then failing to provide child-friendly social services once they've left the womb, a conversation that we are remarkably still having today.
I do know, having talked with some of the ultra-conservative, that they are very concerned, as you said, about anti-abortion, but they don't care about schooling. Where the government would come in, there is definitely no action.
They seem to be kind of separate issues to me. I mean, you can be for the not killing of fetuses or babies, and also be for less government intervention in education. We're spending a ton of money on education. Our education has been consistently worse every year for the last 50. So the correlation between government spending and better levels of education is completely misplaced.
Well, I was thinking in terms of the free food lunch for kids who don't have food at home. Anyhow, let's get back to television.
They spar some more over the politics of shows like All in the Family and MASH. Ben suggests that Hollywood was much more moderate in the 50s and 60s before, in a sinister turn of events, becoming liberal sometime in the 1970s, as if it were some carefully coordinated conspiracy or something, and not just a reflection of where the country was politically at that time. But I think it's fascinating that Ben essentially admits here that he had tried to get a television show off the ground at one point, only to be turned away because, in his words, his politics were too unsavory for Hollywood. Now, what I wouldn't give to actually read any of what he wrote for that TV show that never made it to production, but I think there's ample evidence that conservatives have been able to find work in Hollywood, assuming they're actually good at what they do. I mean, just that year alone, Norm Macdonald was able to launch a new show on Comedy Central. And it's not like Norm had ever been shy about his political leanings. He was just talented regardless, and therefore was able to have a long and fruitful career in entertainment. Even to this day, he is highly regarded by industry leaders across the board, despite being a longtime conservative. I'm just highly skeptical of Ben Shapiro's theory here that conservatives were being turned away.
Does this guy have a cadence that's like a little similar to Willie Mack?
Convictions
You think?
alone,
A little
and that
bit?
his attempts to break into the industry failed in any way because of his politics. Seems to me like more of a convenient excuse for not being more talented. Yet I refuse to believe otherwise until Ben lets us see
The
those
YouTuber
amazing
cadence?
dramedy scripts he wrote. Release the Shapiro cut, Ben. The world needs it. But not everybody disagreed with the central argument of Ben's book. Turns out there were a few key men living around Los Angeles at the time who felt similarly dejected by liberal Hollywood elites. One was a fringe producer by the name of Jeremy Boring, perhaps best known, in the words of Vanity Fair, for helping to produce Etienne, a buddy movie about a dying dwarf hamster. Yeah, I think I speak for everyone when I say we've all seen that one. Would it surprise you to learn that it's now found a home on Tubi? Wait, hang on, the rating is what exactly? After moving out west from a small town in Texas, Boring became friends with star of the TV show Chuck, the titular character in the DC franchise Shazam, and esteemed Fortnite Friday guest Zachary Levi, who he would accompany to the Chuck set during the late 2000s. Boring told Vanity Fair of one on-set exchange that always stuck with him. One day, I'm walking through the stairwell and a very well-known actress, who was one of the stars of that show, stopped me and said, "Hey, is that your Bush Cheney bumper sticker on that pickup in the parking lot?" I said, "Yeah, yes ma'am." She said, "Kid, you've got balls of steel." Honest truth, even until that moment, it was completely lost on me. And just like that, Boring became keenly aware of a silent underbelly of the Hollywood machine. Conservatives did exist in LA, they just weren't as vocal as the liberals may have been. He soon joined a networking group called Friends of Abe, described by the New York Times as a collection
Wasn't this video about Epstein? No, we turned that one off. Fuck that. I don't care.
of perhaps 1,500 right-leaning players in the entertainment industry, which is where he got to know Andrew Breitbart, the bomb-throwing reactionary founder of Breitbart News. Breitbart famously used to say that politics is downstream from culture. It was sort of his guiding principle when honing attacks on the left. Breitbart felt that if conservatives could penetrate the world of film, TV, and music, they could then mold political consciousness in their favor. Perhaps it's no surprise then that Breitbart hired a 28-year-old Ben Shapiro to become the outlet's editor-at-large in 2012, just weeks ahead of Andrew Breitbart's sudden death on March 1st of that year. Replaced by Steve Bannon, the continuation of Andrew Breitbart's legacy was already well underway, considering it was him who introduced Jeremy Boring to Ben Shapiro a few years earlier. The two men would go on to start a news site of their own called Truth Revolt in October of 2013, before founding another website in 2015. They called it The Daily Wire. Within just 14 months of bursting onto the scene, Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring, who I should mention liked to call himself the God King of the website, in case you felt like cringing out of your skin today.
Do you remember when there were two genders and only 1.5 of them had to shave their mustaches?
were able to boast that the Daily
Frickin'
Wire
epic.
had become cash flow positive nearly a full year ahead of schedule. They like to brag that they didn't need any outside financial backers to do it, but that's probably because their venture had always been propped up by billionaire fracking tycoon Ferris Wilkes, a noted Christian nationalist who fueled the Daily Wire's launch to the tune of $4.7 million as a part of him and his brother Dan's broader mission to, as reported by Ava Kaufman, not just slash regulations and taxes for the wealthy, but to steer the government toward Christian rule, seeking to eliminate the distinction between church and state. While calling itself a truly self-funding business on its website, the Daily Wire addressed its oil baron ties by desperately arguing that, as of July 2020, neither Shapiro nor Boring have ever met with Dan Wilkes or received any money from Wilkes Brothers LLC, which doesn't stop the site's detractors from braying about how the company is bought and paid for by the evil fracking Wilkes Brothers. Wilkes Brothers sounding, we guess, like Koch brothers, and thus more nefarious to leftist media outlets. Ooh, well, at least you guys clearly aren't mad about it. Glad you don't let the criticism get to you. Clearly, if it's the longest paragraph of your entire about page. Also, how can you blame anybody for braying when you are quite literally bought and paid for by at least one Wilkes brother? I mean, it's just the truth. The least you could do is own it. But what exactly did they do with that generous donation, you ask? Well, at the same time they were pumping out article after article on their website, some of their 2015 headlines included such gems as Congressional Democrat, 1 in 5 Muslims willing to start jihad for caliphate. Democrats love cursing. Here are the top 5 leftist potty mouths. And 2 reasons you shouldn't go back in time and kill baby Hitler by Ben Shapiro? Ben, you're Jewish! The Daily Wire also developed a presence on YouTube and Facebook during this time. In fact, if you go to their channel right now and sort by oldest, you'll find a 10-year-old video of Ben Shapiro chastising then GOP primary candidate Donald Trump as a liar.
So, is Trump a big winner? Or is he a spoiled brat who grew up in the lap of luxury, had his daddy sign his checks, and then bragged about how he is a huge winner? Trump's 3 biggest crowds are evangelicals, conservatives, and he's a winner voters. Trump is lying to all of them.
Which might be wild to see today, but back in 2015, when there were still seemingly plenty of viable contenders for the Republican nomination, Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire were actually fairly critical of the man, who would later go on to win the presidency twice and reshape the Republican Party in his image, attacking Trump on moral grounds in between other videos that were still very much geared toward a conservative audience. If you couldn't already tell from titles like Democrat America, Thugs, Rapists, and Child Molesters, Hollywood Wants to Molest Your Kids, and Captain America is gay and a Nazi. Yeah, this is apparently the kind of content that $4.7 million will get you.
This guy, by the way, is considered a leading Trump ally, Alex Jones. I don't know why! I can't understand it! Look at this! Look what's underneath here! It's another shirt! Why? Why? Because I don't want to go to the cleaners that often, that's why. Come on. Okay.
It was clear from the beginning that the Daily Wire sought to provide content to dejected Republican voters who, sure, hated liberals and Muslims as much as the next reactionary freak, but were still skeptical of the GOP's frontrunner. Of course, that audience proved to be a shrinking one, as Donald Trump smashed caucus after caucus, picking up scores of delegates and solidifying himself as the man to face off against the dreaded Hillary Rodham Clinton that November.
I'm just chilling.
Grappling with a Trump presidency on election night, Shapiro and Boring may very well have positioned the Daily Wire to go belly up, if it weren't for a new niche they were early to tap into. It's not that they were simply pro-Trump, but they also definitely weren't anti-Trump either, as Ben Shapiro was about to learn the value of becoming anti-Trump in 2017.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States.
Frickin' epic.
Darth Vader, no, from this lady.
Okay, well that was forced as No way was that a genuine laugh, Ben. Come on. I know it may feel like another lifetime ago, but Donald Trump's first term in office provided plenty of material for mainstream liberals intent on demonstrating their hashtag resistance to a president who they, quite correctly, identified early on as a fascist warmonger hell-bent on ushering in the American century of humiliation. I mean, I think we can say now they were pretty fucking vindicated. You had the women's marches immediately after the inauguration, a day without immigrants on February 17th, pink pussy hats were flying off the shelves, though obviously not all of America was on board, since they did go on to elect him again just 8 excruciating years later, and there were figures in the media ready to capitalize on those who looked at the resistance movement and said, huh? Ben Shapiro understood quite well that while some Americans had voted for Trump, plenty of others had voted against Hillary. They may not have particularly cared for Donald Trump the man, but they certainly hated what Hillary Clinton represented. And unfortunately, those early years also provided plenty of material for red-pilled servants of the billionaire class to traffic in their cancerous ideology through the means of smearing the left as a bunch of hysterical crybabies that were simply too immature or uneducated to understand such foundational concepts as facts and logic.
People were wearing what they were calling pussy hats, like pussy cats hats. Okay, and these were supposed to protest Donald Trump because Donald Trump is such a sexist. If you want to drive Americans out of your camp, a quick way to do it is just keep saying things like pussy hats over and over and over, and then talking about female anatomy. A lot of these signs are super obscene. There are a lot of kids who showed up to this thing, and there are a lot of really obscene signs.
The name of the game was to hammer the left on their supposed weirdness to get as many non-political people in the door as possible. I mean, this video alone got close to 1 million views, and that was before the world had really learned who Ben Shapiro was. As liberals were pushing back against Trump, Ben was pushing back against them, laying a new foundation from which right-wing figureheads would go on to launch their attacks. A classic strategy in the world of politics is to paint the other side in the most unfavorable light imaginable. If you can show an example of one leftist being crazy, you can smear the entire left as crazy, thus drawing a distinction between them and you as the reasonable, level-headed adults in the room, especially in the eyes of normies. A cursory glance at Ben's overall channel will show you that his most popular videos don't even have Trump's name in the title. What really got him the views were his reactions to woke SJWs, his attempts to debunk woke ideology, and of course, the debates. The many debates of Ben Shapiro. I think there could easily be an entire video devoted to Ben Shapiro's disingenuous debate tactics, but that's not really what we're here to do today. Ben's debates haven't been relevant for a hot minute anyway, but if you've watched any of it yourself, you'll quickly notice a pattern. The overwhelming majority of these smackdowns took place on college campuses, meaning this Harvard-educated, heavily politically engaged debate lord was facing off against well-intentioned college students who, unfortunately, were a little too underprepared to deal with such a weathered professional. Now, does that fact alone make Ben's positions correct? Obviously not, no. The point of these debates wasn't to be right. The point was to humiliate the opponent at all costs. You certainly don't really need to change your opponent's mind. You don't even have to be civil. This is YouTube. Whatever it takes to go viral. Short, clippable moments will always be more valuable than fully fleshed out ideas and arguments.
Okay, but you're still saying these kids should not be accepted because they don't really fit in either place? They can't just
I'm saying that the Boy Scouts have a standard. You must be a biological boy to be a Boy Scout. You have to be a boy to be a Boy Scout.
Where's that written though?
In the name Boy Scouts.
Frickin' epic.
Ben knew his role, and that role was to refurbish the old, dusty, conservative talking points that had been thrown around for decades, formerly weaponized by mainstream figures who were a little too ideological and old for the type of audience that Ben was going for. Ben Shapiro was Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck for a generation that had never heard those names before. He could connect with the youth in ways that were never possible for Fox News blowhards like Sean Hannity, who were preaching primarily to the old folks' home. Yet Ben was still railing against the exact same issues that conservatives of the past had always been obsessed with. Feminism, transgenderism, Islam. He once famously tweeted that Israelis like to build, Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Does that count as a...
Hashtag settlements rock. He's advocated for the privatization of Social Security, the complete criminalization of abortion and gay marriage, and of course, fewer taxes on billionaires. Broadcasting himself across all the major social media platforms, Ben Shapiro quickly embraced the role of the new, fast-talking millennial who could demonstrate to the Republican old guard that actually young people could be quite receptive to this stuff if it were packaged the right way. At least that's what the old guard seemed to take away from his rapid success. And the success was undeniable. The New York Times reported that by November 2017, Ben's podcast was being downloaded 10 million times each month, with a staggering 70% of his audience being under the age of 40. One compilation of his debates, uploaded in September 2017, is currently sitting at over 17 million views.
Tight than fucking
January
Dark Souls or whatever, no shot.
Slate found that Shapiro had more Facebook engagements in December than any other conservative site or personality except for Fox News and Breitbart. He was outpacing the Daily Caller by 2.5 times and received 6 times more engagement than Sean Hannity, 11.5 times more than Laura Ingraham. By that time, his Facebook page alone was sitting at 3.5 million followers. Jeremy Boring told Vanity Fair at the end of 2018 that the Daily Wire was bringing in a total of 140 million page views a month, had 60 full-time employees on the payroll, and sure enough, they were able to bring on even more on-screen personalities in due time. By now, I have no doubt you know them, and I'm sure you love them. In 2017, the Daily Wire officially brought on Michael Knowles, a graduate of Yale and also a failed actor whose illustrious list of roles included a gay twink who has gay sex with another gay man.
That just happened.
Dog, you didn't have to wear that. That's not a Speedo. That's a thong. I debated this man on COVID lockdowns.
The only reason I bring that up is because Michael Knowles, if you didn't know, is a raging homophobe who's declared that same-sex couples are unfit to have children, that their families are pretend, and has compared surrogacy to purchasing a luxury item, stating that even if they go to the baby store and purchase the eggs from one woman and rent the womb of another woman and create a child as though the child were a handbag to be purchased at Ferragamo or something, they're not fit to raise a child. He's argued that women understood the world a lot better before feminism, has decried anti-white racism, and has advocated for the eradication of transgenderism from public life entirely. So, you know, perfect candidate for the cool kids philosopher to take under his wing. 2017 was also the year that Matt Walsh joined the Daily Wire as a columnist, before being upgraded to podcast host the following year. Walsh is a man with a similar resume, though instead of acting, his past consists of sitting on the side of the road and rambling to himself about the differences of consensual and non-consensual sex. No, I'm not kidding.
So
how does that not count as a dodge?
Sex, which is bad, and then we have consensual sex, which we think is always good. That's what the culture says. That's what a lot of us have.
That's not a dodge.
It seems like that's the idea that we have. It's like, as long as they're consenting adults who choose to do this thing, then it must be okay. But the reality is that there's a lot of bad sex. There's a lot of immoral sex. There's a lot of disordered, gross, harmful sex that is nonetheless consensual. And in the Catholic Church, you have you have some cases where, like cases involving Cardinal McCarrick. You hear about Cardinal McCarrick and the controversy surrounding him. Now, there are accusations that he molested children.
That's not
so,
good.
you know, that's in that category. But then a lot of the accusations you hear about McCarrick and also with other, you know, some of these other things as well. These are, in some cases, he's having sex with seminarians. These are grown men who he allegedly lured into bed and then had sex with. But
well, that's not good.
as a grown man, if you let another man lure you into bed, does that belong in the same category as the 12-year-old kids?
Would you believe me if I said this was also the same guy who defended teen pregnancy so long as the teen is married and that girls are technically, quote, most fertile at 17?
Teen pregnancy is a new problem.
Yes.
In the sense that it's only recently that we decided that it is a problem. Even biologically, and this is me just stating, I'm just, right now I'm gonna start by just stating facts. Girls between the ages of like 17 and 24 is when they're technically most fertile.
Yeah.
Okay?
Jesus.
That's biological. That's a fact, all right? I'm just stating facts. That's all I'm doing. So what I'm saying is that the problem is not per se teenage pregnancy, it's unwed pregnancy. That's the problem in society.
Believe me, when I went to the University of Maryland, I was a little bit older than everybody. It was like you get there and you see these like innocent girls, and by the end of the year,
Jesus, fuck.
it's just like the stories you've heard about them. It's like this internal need to breed,
This
and
is
it just
oh
comes
my
out
God,
at the,
hello?
at the wrong time.
Internal need to breed. Awesome. Another great hire there, Ben. Love the fact that Matt Walsh has sold literal plush toys of himself as a baby, by the way. Not at all strange or off-putting in the slightest. Nothing but the best at the Daily Wire, whose rotating cast of characters not only included a girl named Brett Cooper, who is essentially the gender-swapped version of Ben Shapiro, and Candace Owens, who was officially brought on board in 2020 despite a bit of a controversial past of her own, one that includes Hitler apologia. She stated in 2018 that if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is he had dreams outside of Germany, which I think only slightly undercut some of the things he was doing, I don't know, inside of Germany. But apparently Ben Shapiro saw that and said, we need her. Ultimately, Ben Shapiro was building a behemoth. Towards the end of Trump 1.0, the Daily Wire had been transformed into an influencer-driven juggernaut, hell-bent on waging the culture war on as many fronts as possible. Shapiro, Owens, Walsh, and Knowles were each raking in millions of views on their own respective broadcasts, and because of the constant cross-promotion that was going on, you could almost describe the Daily Wire as its own unique form of content house. Sure, they weren't living in a mansion together like Team 10, or making their money from OnlyFans like the MILF House, but they were virtually inseparable for a time, because there was one glaring issue with the way the company had been organized. If one of the on-screen talents got big enough and decided they no longer needed the Daily Wire for support, they could simply walk away at any time and take their audience with them. A harrowing prospect that Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring would have been wise to take into account, but that wasn't exactly what they were concerned with at the time. After all, they had much more pressing matters to attend to in the era of Biden. With Donald Trump officially out of the White House, Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring found themselves in a more advantageous position than ever. For 4 years, Ben was, more or less, having to put up a front to defend a president who he had always despised on a moral level. Now, the president was a Democrat, an old senile one that he could openly and viciously trash without having to worry about even the slightest pushback from his audience. In fact, it's what they expected him to do. And of course, Ben wasn't about to let them down.
Not a good look there, Joe. Not a great look at all. He's completely asleep. So, this guy is a fail. He is a giant fail.
And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
What the That's a great meme. Did you know that every single like creates one additional leftist tier?
I didn't know that.
That is just science.
Freaking epic.
What's going on with this guy?
Trust me, the hogs were eating good. It's not like Joe Biden didn't give him any material to work with.
When it came spring, it came the fall, this is the God's truth. And you get in the car and there's a little frost on the window, turn on the windshield wiper, there'd be an oil slick. Not a joke.
Okay.
I have asthma, and 80% of the people who, in fact, we grew up with have asthma. That's what you call a fence line community.
This is the kind of person who's president of the United States.
In January of 2022, Boring announced that the Daily Wire's 12-month revenue had hit $100 million for the first time ever, up roughly 65% from 2020. Having just moved their headquarters from Los Angeles to Nashville, Tennessee, the company was prepared to put their massive war chest to good use by introducing a wave of new and expensive projects. And I'm not just talking about overproduced commercials for anti-woke razor blades and pronoun chocolate. I'm not really sure actually, and I don't care. In June, they announced the Daily Wire Plus, an obvious spin-off of Disney Plus, though Disney Plus never offered commentary from a doddering old transphobe who has beef with Elmo for some reason. So if that's your thing, I guess it could be worth the $7 to $21 they make you cough up. I don't know. They also announced another paid streaming platform called BentKey that featured content exclusively for kids and sought to answer the age-old question of, what if Bluey were a homeschooled chinchilla voiced by washed-up reactionary comedian Rob Schneider? Yeah, nothing screams family values like that guy. Full disclosure, I haven't tried watching Chip-Chilla yet, and probably never will, but everything I've read about it indicates it was a pretty standard children's show with an emphasis on respecting your parents and loving your country, I guess. Apparently, Boring didn't want to make this one as explicitly political, though he did explain that the point was to push back against what he saw as the worst excesses of the woke left. Okay. Kids go to school for 40 hours a week, and then they engage in pop culture for 40 more hours every week. That means for 80 hours of a child's week, you are turning them over to the left. Oh no, the exposure to new ideas and differing perspectives, God, anything but that. A good parent might spend 15 minutes a day in meaningful conversation with their kids. A great parent might take their kid to church for 1 hour, or 2 hours, or 3 hours a week. The other 80, they're watching Disney. They're online. They're in public schools. Oh my God, the horror. I would never allow my kids to endure the satanic dogma espoused by Disney Channel and public school teachers. Do conservatives ever get tired of being scared of literally everything? But not all the new Daily Wire projects kept their politics ambiguous. They also released a number of films, including, but tragically not limited to, the brazenly transphobic Lady Ballers, which was about a group of men getting into women's basketball by claiming they were transgender. Jeremy Boring, who has always wanted to be taken seriously as an actor, in the same way Ben Shapiro has always wanted to be taken seriously as a screenwriter, played the main character himself. And it features cameos from the nation's most universally revered lawmakers.
Excuse me, are these seats open? Never mind.
Don't you have a fucking job to do? Though perhaps one of their most successful ventures to date is Matt Walsh's equally transphobic documentary, What is a Woman? Or as I like to call it, the final boss of coworker movies. The goal was to showcase the supposed absurdity of gender ideology, but at least 3 people who appeared in the film say they were tricked into being a part of it, and that the producers had misrepresented how it would portray transgender topics. Apparently they had promised doctors and advocates that the documentary would explore the challenges the transgender and LGBTQIA face in today's culture, as well as advancements in transgender care and gender affirmation surgery. Obviously, the film wound up doing the exact opposite. As NBC's Preston Ganaway pointed out, nowhere in the film did Walsh even use the phrase transgender care, instead opting for terms like chemical castration. Since they hadn't heard of Matt Walsh or the Daily Wire before, these interviewees had assumed the filmmakers had more honest, pure intentions, and were surprised to learn their words had been weaponized to further a political agenda they didn't agree with. What I didn't know until researching this video was that the Daily Wire had also established a conservative book publishing imprint in 2021 that helped publish propaganda, books, just, normal books, written by the usual suspects. Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, canceled Mandalorian star Gina Carano, but also one of the pigs involved in the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor. Yeah, I know. After Simon & Schuster refused to publish Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly's book on the assassination, the Daily Wire swooped in and saved the day. Isn't that nice? Simon & Schuster was too afraid to tell Mattingly's story, but we're not, they told the Associated Press. And it's true, they weren't afraid to tell that story, but no matter how outrageous and provocative they got, there were always issues that the mainstream conservative conservative brain trust at the Daily Wire refused to touch, which created a bit of a problem.
I don't think you can
Ben.
counterstand any of this guy's
Problem
moves.
summed up by Ryan Broderick, who wrote, "The age-old problem with working at the racism factory, they eventually make a new racism that includes you."
No way! I'm here with Andy No. Welcome back to Slightly Offensive.
Here he is.
Really,
Ben Shapiro.
Keep pose on it. Are you going to walk across and greet him?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if he'll greet me. Are we going to go over? Let's go over.
All right.
Oh, shit.
This
can't be in the middle
of the street, though. Ben! It's great to see you. Why did you give a 45-minute speech about me?
Oh, shit. Wait, does she have more iframes or something?
Hey, he's with his kids.
Come on, I'm right here. I know you're with your family, but I can't get
Nope, didn't watch that one.
I shouldn't have to spell out for you why Ben Shapiro, one of the right's most prominent Jewish commentators, and Nicholas
Or is this even an
J.
iframe thing, or is it
Fuentes,
just like
an
getting out of the
ardent
way?
neo-Nazi Holocaust denier, would hate each other. They've been trading blows for almost a decade now, with Fuentes telling Tucker Carlson about their first interaction all the way back in 2017.
I said, how is it anti-Semitic to just be consistent on our U.S. foreign policy? I tweeted to Ben Shapiro. I said, you know, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I don't know. I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, to accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism.
He immediately called you an anti-Semite.
I was like,
Unbelievable.
what is this? Like, why is this guy attacking me? You know, because I don't have a platform at this time. I'm not an influential guy or anything. I was surprised at why he cared.
Yeah.
How does he even know?
Okay, I thought this was going to be like a fucking analysis of Ben Shapiro's engagement with the media landscape and how he made the wrong choice or something, but I feel like it's just a retreading of his entire career, no? Is that...
who I am or what I'm about. And it turned out that Cassie Dillon, she had texted him earlier and she wanted him to take me under his wing. Well, you really like this guy. He's amazing. He did this great debate. She goes, but he's a little too pro-Trump. And he goes, I'll take a look. And so they started paying attention to me, and the more critical of Israel I was, I started to get this really intense pushback from the both of them and from a lot of the people at Daily
All
Wire.
of his videos are summaries and biographies?
His criticism of Israel does not mean in any way that he's a friend of the Palestinian movement or any non-white group for that matter. Anyone with even a basic understanding of who he is should know immediately that Nick's opposition to Israel has nothing to do with a selfless, progressive dedication to human rights and has pretty much everything to do with a burning hatred for Jewish people. He's never exactly been one to hide his appreciation of Adolf Hitler and his questioning of how many Jews were really killed in the Holocaust with his painfully unsubtle and nauseating comparison to cookies baking in an oven.
Matt says, if I take 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies and Cookie Monster has 15 ovens, working 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years, how long does it take Cookie Monster to make 6 million batches of cookies? I don't know. That's a good question. That doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there.
This is beside the point, but I watched this clip play on Rumble next to an ad for 30% off ivermectin. So anyway, the fact remains that Ben Shapiro is and has always been, since the dawn of his career as a columnist at Breitbart, a raging Zionist, a defender of fascism who will back Israel and all of their violent, depraved, and sick behavior to the hilt without even a second thought. We already saw his tweet from over a decade ago, lauding illegal settlements in Palestine and slamming Arabs for bombing crap and living in open sewage. His opinions have hardly changed since then, and all you have to do is take one look at his coverage in the days and weeks following October 7th, 2023.
Tucker, by the way, then continued along these lines. He did an interview with Vic Ramaswamy, and he likened what just happened in Israel, the kidnapping of women, and the rape. He compared that to drug overdose deaths in the United States. People who are addicted to fentanyl, sticking needles in their arms and overdosing is a moral blight. It is a moral atrocity and moral evil for people to kidnap women, rape them, and drag them back to the Gaza border. Those are not the same thing, and Tucker knows that. But this is a cheap way of telling you not to look. Nobody is calling for America to go to war with Iran. The entire purpose of having an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean is to avoid that. Of course we should care about what happens with fentanyl. Of course we should care about, we should close our border. Have I been unclear about this? Of course America should have closed borders when it comes to this sort of stuff. I'm on the same side as Tucker on that. I just don't understand why he's not on my side when it comes to Hamas has to be wiped off the face of the earth.
The rift between Shapiro and Fuentes reflected a much deeper divide taking place on the right as Israel responded to the Hamas attacks of October 7th by waging an all-out assault on the 2.2 million men, women, and children then living in the Gaza Strip, cutting off food, water, and electricity to the inhabitants and bombarding countless residential areas with attacks that persist to this day in what just about every international body considers a genocide. Benjamin Netanyahu and other members of the regime are officially wanted by the International Criminal Court of Justice for war crimes, yet they continue to be protected by the United States, first under Joe Biden and now Donald Trump. The horrifying images of Israel's siege being plastered across everyone's screens in the intervening 2.5 years have hardly improved the country's standing in the West, so it shouldn't be much of a surprise that about 60% of all adults in America now have an unfavorable view of Israel. Pew Research found in April 2026 that 80% of Democrats and Democrat-leaning voters have an unfavorable view of Israel, and although only 41% of Republicans currently hold an unfavorable view of the apartheid state, that's still a very significant chunk of the base, one that didn't exist prior to October 7th. 2007, and one that Nicholas J. Fuentes is in a better position to take advantage of than our friend Benjamin Shapiro, who considers even the slightest criticism of Israel to be flatly anti-Semitic, no questions asked. If you in any way disapprove of Benjamin Netanyahu's open bloodthirst and warmongering, then you obviously hate Jews. But never mind the fact that some of the most anti-Israel groups in America are comprised of Jewish Americans who simply don't want to see another genocide to be carried out in their name. Mr. Shapiro will hear none of it. But thanks to the power of hindsight, we can safely say that coming to the defense of a genocidal ethno-state is hardly a hill worth dying on, both from a moral perspective, obviously, but in the case of Ben Shapiro, a business one too. Because not only was the divide ripping apart the Republican Party, it was also ripping apart his own company. On the morning of March 22nd, 2024, Candace Owens shocked the world with a tweet that read, "The rumors are true, I am finally free." She had officially parted ways with the Daily Wire and was already promoting her own site, which promised premium content that exposes truth, shatters assumptions, and breaks boundaries. She presented the news in a way that made it seem like the Daily Wire, aka Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring, had been holding her back from speaking truth to power, or something. But really, for anyone paying attention, this revelation hadn't come out of nowhere. She had been taking not-so-subtle shots at her bosses as early as November 2023, when she tweeted that no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. To which Shapiro responded with, "Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means, quit." Candace fired back, "You have been acting unprofessional and emotionally unhinged for weeks now, and we have all had to sit back and allow it, and have all tried to exercise exceeding understanding for your raw emotion. But you cross a certain line when you come for scripture and read yourself into it. I will not tolerate it." Perhaps it finally dawned on Ben, as he was reading that response, that the audience he had spent his entire adult life working to cultivate, the ensemble of reactionary nut jobs he'd been employing for years, wasn't all that fond of Jews, actually. Whoops, who could have seen that coming? Reflecting on Candace's time at the Daily Wire years later, Ben told The New Yorker that when they initially brought her on in 2021, they saw her as a fairly mainstream conservative who said inflammatory things. If you recall, some of those inflammatory things included, defending Hitler 2 years before Ben hired her. But then again, Ben said he wouldn't kill baby Hitler, so.
No pro-life person on earth would kill baby Hitler.
Ben says here that he liked most of the inflammatory things she said, but other stuff not so much. He doesn't really get into specifics, but he does maintain that by 2023, she was spouting anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, which, by the way, she most certainly was and still is. I mean, come on, she held up a copy of the Talmudic Jew by German theologian August Rohling, a long discredited and blatantly anti-Semitic work that was literally used by the Nazis as justification to eradicate over 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. She'd been referencing the anti-Semitic notion of blood libel all throughout 2024, and platformed Kanye West when he said that Jewish people control the media, erroneously claimed that Jews were responsible for the enslavement of Africans during the slave trade, and was at one point praised by Nick Fuentes for, in his words,
Candace Owens has just been on a tear lately. She has been in a full-fledged war against the Jews.
I understand this can be a difficult conversation to have when even the mildest criticism of Israel gets misconstrued as anti-Semitic. But make no mistake, Candace Owens is a raging anti-Semite. It was one before Ben Shapiro hired her. He had to have known how hateful she was, and yet he continued to employ her for years until just a few months after October 7th. And while Candace may have a lot to say about the genocidal fascist state of Israel today, correctly criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu for killing children and condemning the Holocaust being perpetuated in Gaza, Candace has historically never been one to champion the rights of Arabs or Muslims, considering she was specifically mentioned in the Christchurch mosque shooter's manifesto in 2019, where he wrote that the person that has influenced me above all was Candace Owens. Each time she spoke, I was stunned by her insights, and her own views helped push me further and further into the belief of violence over meekness. And yet, Ben Shapiro hired her anyway. The idea that she was just going to play along and never turn against his identity as a Jewish man is a silly one that Ben should have anticipated long before spending so many years building her up. He created this monster, and now she's going to swallow him whole. Candace spent the next 2 years steadily building up an audience, daring to go where the Daily Wire never could by actually criticizing Israel. In the case of Candace, it was coming from an anti-Semitic place, but it nonetheless resonated with those who saw the most heinous atrocities imaginable being carried out in the name of a flag bearing the Star of David. Being anti-Semitic and being anti-Zionist are two very different things. One can rightfully call out Israel's war crimes while also recognizing the reality that Jewish people are not a monolith and are not collectively to blame for the crimes of a nation-state. But Candace seeks to conflate these things, and frankly, so does Ben Shapiro. In their world, you cannot denounce Israel without also denouncing Jews as a whole, and that's precisely where their rift stems from. As Israel's genocide in Gaza moved forward with the complete support of the United States, more and more regular Americans were becoming dispossessed with what they were witnessing. They turned to the internet, saw that Ben Shapiro was defending Israel's crimes, and compared that to what they saw coming out of Candace Owens, a person who seemed more than willing to call out the various and obvious crimes against humanity. Basically, she was beginning to steadily siphon off the Daily Wire's viewers. Media Matters reports that from January 2025 to March 2026, Candace was able to add 10 million new subscribers across all platforms, generating 81 million TikTok likes and 805 million views on YouTube. Her follower and subscriber count had ballooned to 24 million across all of her accounts, a staggering 80% increase since the beginning of 2025. But she really was, for all intents and purposes, free from the Daily Wire's grasp, meaning there was nothing stopping her from getting crazier than ever before, especially in the days, weeks, and months following the fateful day of September 10th, 2025.
Chaos and horror on a college campus. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk gunned down in front of a crowd at Utah Valley University.
With the assassination of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, Candace Owens coped with the loss of her friend by ramping up her trademark conspiracy theories to a whole new level. It's true that the investigation surrounding Charlie's death was suspicious. I'm sure you all remember those oddly written text messages the gunman was said to have typed out in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. Candace not only got to work pointing out the various inconsistencies in what the authorities were telling the public, but she was also quick to conjure up some theories of her own, even if they didn't make the most sense. First, she said that Israel had killed him, since he was supposedly coming around on his views on the country. His allies dispute that he was. She went on to assign blame to the French government, since she was, after all, in the midst of battling the Macrons in court after slandering the First Lady of France as transgender, even going so far as to say that Tyler Robinson wasn't even the one to pull the trigger, and that the actual killer had escaped through a trap door in the floor in front of where Charlie was sitting. Later on, she said Charlie Kirk was coming to her in her dreams.
I had a vivid dreams weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me that he was betrayed.
And that he was a time traveler who went to X-Men school. I mean, she was just kind of saying whatever at a certain point. Of course, she had previously speculated that Charlie could have been taken out by elements within the U.S. military, and even TPUSA itself, targeting in particular Charlie's widow, Erica. In February, she announced a multi-part investigative series titled Bride of Charlie that generated about 23 million views on its own, and was described by The Hollywood Reporter as Candace delving into Erica's family background and advancing insinuations about her role in his death that were widely condemned across the conservative spectrum, with Ben Shapiro being among the loudest critics.
Candace Owens is an evil, twisted human being. Because Candace Owens is either going through the throes of mental illness or because she's a sick human being, or both. She has decided that she is going to turn her fire on the widow.
By now, the gloves were officially off, and a conservative civil war was ravaging the movement from the inside, a war that Ben Shapiro was not about to win. Ben could get mad, could criticize Candace for being a disgusting human being, and he could be entirely right on that front, but what did it matter if Candace was pulling millions of views per stream? At the same time that Ben was bringing in $400 to 600K viewers per live show, Candace was cracking close to 3 million on some of her streams, sometimes even more than that. 9 million views talking about Israel's supposed involvement in Charlie's death. I mean, come on. These numbers weren't bad on their own, but compared to Candace, it was clear which of the two enjoyed more influence within the conservative ecosystem, coasting off new momentum that still hasn't slowed much. Candace was just crowned the fastest growing right-wing podcast for the second quarter in a row, as reported in April of this year by The Writing, whose president commented that Candace Owens' skyrocketing popularity defies an easy explanation. You'd think that her baseless attacks on people like Erica Kirk, the widow of slain right-wing activist Charlie Kirk, would discuss vast segments of the MAGA universe. Apparently not, because each month the podcast attracts thousands of new subscribers. She's thriving in a world where the truth is often irrelevant and outrage trumps logic. On December 18th, 2025, Ben Shapiro took the stage at Turning Point USA's America Fest to put the reactionary grifters and frauds on blast. He attempted to lash out at those he claimed had replaced truth with opportunism, and he didn't shy away from naming names.
Erica Kirk and TPUSA never should have been put in the position to have to defend themselves against such specious and evil attacks, particularly in a time of mourning. And the people who refuse to condemn Candace's truly vicious attacks, and some of them are speaking here, are guilty of cowardice. The fact that they have said nothing while Candace has been vomiting all sorts of hideous and conspiratorial nonsense into the public square for years is just as cowardly.
The speech that he posted to his own YouTube channel, mind you, got almost 10,000 dislikes, in a remarkable display of how far right the needle had moved by the time Ben had made these remarks. And sure, he may be morally in the right for calling out Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, but what good do moral